Welcome to another episode of the Leading Woman Show. Have you ever heard anyone you know say, I can never run for office, or politics is not for me? I call the people in this category too cool for politics. However, you can't blame them. The brand of politics we have in Nigeria excludes many and has informed the stereotype that a certain type of men and women are not qualified to be politicians or in a position to seek political office because they have been known in the society for something completely different or less conventional. And frankly, there are those that just don't care. In this episode, we explore the topic, too cool for politics. Welcome to the Leading Woman Show, election series, brought to you with support from the National Endowment for Democracy. I'm Abosede Jojogan, and today I will be speaking with three amazing guests. First, we have Ms. Olaton Candidate Johnson, the founder of Gaia Africa. She's a lawyer with over 30 years experience in corporate and commercial law. We also have Ms. Alero Aida Otobo, who is the founder, Incubator Africa, and the CEO, School of Politics, Policy, and Governance, popularly known as SPPG. And finally, we have Honorable Fuad Atondalawa, who's the chairman of the Ikoyi Obalende LCDA, a position he has held since he was elected in 2017. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Thank you all so much for being here today. It's really good to have you on the show, and we're going to be talking about a topic that I think is very exciting and that a lot of people will find really interesting. Too cool for politics. So, Antelera, I want to start with you. Was there ever a time where you thought you were too cool for politics, and what changed that?
Certainly there was a time, Abosede. Oh my God, talk about ignorance. Yes, there was a time. And it was when I was working in corporate Nigeria, actually. That was when I really felt that I had nothing to do with politics, no interest in politics. I thought politics was what, and I'll be honest, what men did. Because I can't even remember knowing a female politician when I was growing up. And I also thought because of my training, school, education, I had to be a professional woman and I needed to be working in banking, which I was, and I need to pay attention to the numbers, to how well my bank was doing, to market, everything that they call you to do when you're in banking. And then, shock, I left banking and I realized that the world does not revolve around banking. That was my first shock. The second shock was that there was a lot more out there that was important. And what was out there actually determined the development of the nation. Mm-hmm. And Nigeria at that time, by the time I came out of banking, was already facing crisis in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of business, economy. So from banking, I now went and became a technical advisor to a minister of education. And that was when I was thrown into the world of crisis. And I realized that I've been sitting in banking, corporate world, very comfortable, and the rest of the nation was falling into disrepair. And that was when I woke up. And today, I'm a fully convinced that politics is important and we should all be part of that narrative.
Fantastic. So that's what we're going to be delving into.
Yeah.
Ms. Candidate Johnson, let me hear from you. I'm really curious. So 30 years as a lawyer, obviously working in corporate sector as well. Did you think you were too cool for politics?
Sadly, yes. and I think that we need, it kind of goes back to, how you're brought up, how you're socialized. And, generally, so my parents were civil servants, right? But my parents did not necessarily encourage me to go into the civil service. And I think that at that time, it was, you had to go into the professions. You were either lawyer, doctor, engineer, or, so, and basically at that time also you were told what to do. You're going to study law, and I come from a whole family of lawyers. So also, politics was not exactly sexy. It wasn't a sexy subject. It was, all you ever heard about was, the bad of politics. It was, very rough. It was a rough terrain. It probably still is. It wasn't really a place for women. You never really. So also, I was, of course, many years in corporate, and again, just as Alera said, my world was where I worked, and you do this from day to day, year to year, and you have no reason really to think about. Well, you're not conscious about the fact that who's making these policies. You see it in the corporate world, because where that is sort of male dominated, you find that, the policies are skewed towards men and, benefiting men rather than women. And you only find that it is when women get into the top levels of corporate that they then begin to, maybe they get pregnant and they think, oh my God, I have to walk all the way to, I don't know, another side of the office before and then they put those policies in place because nobody else was experiencing that. So, politics, I cannot, I will confess that even today, I don't think I would run for office. But today I am so super conscious of the fact that we all have to participate in politics. And I think it's not just to participate in politics, but it's to lead.
Exactly.
Because if we do not lead, then things will forever stay the same.
Exactly. Because we already know what that looks like.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Honorable Fuad, I want to come to you now. So, you graduated from a master's from the UK, working a really pretty decent job, and then all of a sudden you say you want to go and run for office. Now, my curiosity for you is, it would have been different if you said, I want to even run at the federal level, right? But then you said local government. What? Tell us that story.
I am curious.
So for me, then again, politics is local. So there are some things I saw at the time, and I said to myself that real change starts at the local level, at the grassroots level. So if we want to see change, true change, it starts at the local government level. So I knew for a fact that I didn't have any business going to Aso Rock to see Mr. President. Seeing the governor of the state was also going to be difficult for me. But if you live on the island, for example, the things you want to see, the change you want to see starts from your drainage, starts from your road. And all of these things and more are functions of the local government. And I said to myself that, let me do something, let me try something. And that was the first time. And I got it. So, so for me, I said to myself, okay, life is just, it goes beyond just making money for yourself and being comfortable with your family and just traveling around the world. But there comes a time when you know that, I can make a change, I can be different, And this was when people were saying things about, politics is dirty. If you go into it, you're going to have to swear to one man. You're going to see somewhat occultic things. And I said to myself, none of that, And look at us today. And from 2017 up until 2022, I got re-elected last year, unopposed again. And people just said, let's just keep doing what we started in 2017. And I'm loving the experience, to be honest with you. And it's something that I would also encourage the younger generation to get into. We're not going to leave the stage for some people that have no business in politics. We must all get involved and see how we can contribute our quota to the development of this country.
Thank you very much. So I want to come to you, Mr. CJ, because I'm a member of Gaia, and I've seen how you have used that platform intentionally to start to create a platform for elite men and women to get involved. And I think this is a really important conversation because evidence shows us that for any real change to happen, there needs to be both elite consensus and consensus of the masses. What is driving you to do that? And how do you see that as a potential for hopefully making politics cool to this category of people?
So I think that it's important that we first of all realize where we are today and why we are where we are today. And, all you have to do is just sort of look around the world for examples, okay? And one of the examples that sticks in my head is Emily's List. Why Emily's List? Because it is a deliberate attempt to get women elected into offices, to get into office, to make change, but of a deliberate kind. So they're looking at Democrats, they're looking at pro-choice, they're looking at all these things, and they've managed so far to build a community of 5 million people, and they have managed to put into office, I think, 1,400 or 1,500 women. That is change.
Yeah.
And so it has to start somewhere. And, so if you have a platform, I think it's important that you use it strategically, because we have to be strategic. If we're not strategic, then we're not going to get anything done. And so, we very often have, an evening that we call Gentleman's Evening. And the idea for that is to bring, men into the space and to talk about the things that are important, but not just to talk about them, to see how we can make those changes, effect those changes. And so far, it's an ongoing conversation. We're not going to change the world tomorrow, but we have to start somewhere. But we have to be strategic. Because if we're not strategic, then we're just having conversations. And, conversations are not going to move the needle.
I agree with you. And I think the picture you painted for us is the fact that, yes, today you think you're too cool for politics. You start to realize its importance, but then you have to also be patient with the process. Because the reason why we existed in our little bubble and it worked for us was everything there worked and it was functional.
Absolutely.
But then when you come away from that bubble, this terrain, unfortunately, has a lot of dysfunction. So, Auntie Alero, you've now gone on, to be CEO of literally a governance school, a politics and governance school. What was that transition like? And, in your opinion, what are some of those transferable skills that you definitely knew that I'm bringing it from my former world into this very important world, which you think and hopefully believe is now cool?
Yeah. That's such a good question. And I'll tell you why. The transition wasn't actually as difficult as you would imagine. And why? It's because of the evidence, the data that was staring at me. I said I worked as a technical advisor, Ministry of Education. I remember how many times I wept when we went on tours from state to state, looking at the state of education, the state of the classrooms, children sitting on the floor, teachers having no resources. So the reality of how a significant percentage of our population, 70% of our population, the reality, the poverty that they live in was a wake-up call. So the bubble burst immediately. So with that wake-up call, I realized very quickly that you can be the best in the business world, but the world that determines, like I said earlier on, national development is the political world.
That's right.
And as we love to say, politics trumps economics.
That's right.
Anytime. So I then heard about an initiative called Fix Politics. And the name resonated with me because I could see the evidence of what was not working. And with Fix Politics, I got invited. I joined the first session, joined the first conference, and suddenly I found myself energized, passionate, and saying I want to be part of the solution. And as you know, I wear a reformer's hat. So young people, If you're going to change a nation, you have to become a reformer and think like one. You can't transform without reforming a system. So structural changes are needed many times before you can actually see true change. And many times we don't focus on those structural changes because they are painful. They're
And
difficult. They're slow. You may never even see that change, like William Wilberforce.
Yeah.
It was on his deathbed that he saw structural change. But that is what is required. And the School of Politics, Policy and Governance is about structural change. It's about changing the mindset of our politicians. It's about determining that new mindset. And what does that new mindset look like? We are putting emphasis on what we call our 3 C's that you're familiar with: character, competence, and capacity. We need value-based, values-driven politicians who are not transactional, but are transformational. And that's why I'm happy to be sitting beside you, because I shall be investigating to make sure you are a transformational leader. and then competence. Enough politicians don't make the effort to become aware, to study, to research, to understand what the issues are. And not just the symptoms of the issues, but the fundamental root causes of our issues. And if you don't attack the root cause of, like, education, the root cause of the problems in health, you're going to be just putting a plaster over a huge wound. And you know what's going to happen? It won't heal. It will just get worse. And that's what keeps happening. And that's why 60 years after independence, we are in the state that we are in. So right now, I have rolled up my sleeves and I'm determined to be part of the solution. And my mission is to raise disruptive thinkers that will go into politics and make a difference.
Fabulous, fabulous. So before we go on a break, Honorable Fuad, you are now in this position. And I mean, so Honorable Fuad, for full disclosure, Honorable Fuad is my local government chairman. And so I remember last year, you're contesting again. And you know, the mantra around Ikoyi Obalende was, Fuad they walk, we they see him. So now, what are some of those transferable skills that you brought? Right? Because as Auntie Alero, I'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Because as Auntie Alero said, you know, you definitely are not the conventional politician, right? So what are those things that you brought that, and I have another question for you. How are the people around you, you know, your guys, how do they now see politics?
Okay, so first I will speak on my experience on the job. So my experience on the job has been one of, it's been it's taken a whole lot from me. And I'll tell you why. So people think politics is just about see something, you fix it. So there's politics, there's governance, you understand? So what people want to see is the governance part. The political part of our work, people don't understand it, people don't see it. So for me, it's always been about dedication, you know, hard work, you know, teamwork. So I've got a fantastic team again. And what we did in 2017 was to understand the needs of our people. We had to do a needs assessment of our people, understanding what their needs were at the time. And we figured that in the Ombalende part of Ikoyi, our people have been underserved. You know, no access to the basic things of life, water, you know, infrastructure like good road network, you know, primary healthcare centers. All of these things weren't there in 2017. So felt like we had to build the council from the scratch. So under 2 years, we gave them 2 primary healthcare centers. And the people were like, how? Just 2 years in office? I said, no problem, we're going to do more for you. If you go to Obalende now, people can verify. We fixed almost all of the roads in Obalende. We've given them clean water in Obalende. So what we did with water, again, not just putting boreholes somewhere and say, you know what, take water. We did full reticulation across all of the streets. Obalende is just one 300 plots of land area, somewhere, a settlement area in Ikoyi, so southwest Ikoyi. And we did reticulation, ran pipes on the ground, gave water to the people, and these things are still working. And we said to ourselves, like, come, listen, we don't have all of the, like, we don't have the resources to do all of these things. So it took us back to the SDGs again, partnerships. That's the 17 goal. You know, 17 goals like put up by the UN, put together by the UN to see how we can achieve goals 1 to 16, you know, zero poverty, no hunger, you know, access to education. And we had to partner with people residents, we said to them, the local government, don't give us this money. We found something meaningful that we want to do. Gone are the days where you give money to the local government and they end up not doing anything. So this is what I want to do. I want to fix this road, for example. I'm going to fix this road. I'm going to put a street light on this road. But I can't power the street light because I'm not I'm not EKEDC. So what can you do for me? And we came and we started doing things like, okay, fine, after putting all of the things together, we're going to power your street lights for you. And it worked. We did on our Ademola Street in Ikoyi Club Road, Polo Club Road, Okotiebo, Ije Dolphin Road. We have residents powering street lights within the community. Mr. Tony Elumelu took up McGregor Road in Ikoyi. He said, do the infrastructure, I'll give you power. Imagine after fixing the street lights, for example, and you have to put a generator there to power. It's not sustainable. Come on. At the end of the day, I can't be everywhere. Someone goes there at night, turns off the generator, takes the diesel, and people are left without power. So for me, it was more of, I had to think, I had to reflect, and I had to do, because I knew the needs of my people, and I had to act fast. Because for me, I just want to do 4 years at first. Just do 4 years and give. So basically, in my own little way, I said, God, please, if I'm going to come back, I don't want anyone to contest against me from the party. And God answered my prayers,
Fantastic.
In 2021, nobody contested against me from the party. And for me, it was solid. And I knew that we had to do more of what we did in 2017.
Fabulous. So I heard a few things there before we go to a break. This ability to come in because you've come from an unconventional path to say, I need to, first of all, engage the people, right? Which is not something that happens all the time. The second thing I saw there was that ability to mobilize resources because you understand how to mobilize resources. I think the final piece there was that strategic thinking piece to say, look, there is a big picture here and there are multiple stakeholders who can actually contribute. All right, so we'll go for a break now and we'll be right back. Welcome back. So we have been exploring the topic, too cool for politics. And I don't know about you, but I'm really enjoying this conversation. So let me come to you, Mrs. CJ. One of the things that we see oftentimes is when women from other industries, for example, entertainment, decide to go into politics or run for office, it's frowned at. There's a lot of stigma around that. But unfortunately, we don't see that with their male counterparts. Why do you think that's the case?
So I believe that that all goes back to patriarchy and the fact that women are not supposed to be in any kind of leadership position, right? But it's also small-mindedness because if it's acceptable for a man, it shouldn't be unacceptable for a woman. But having said that, I think, we all have to realize that, people come from various different backgrounds and go into entertainment. So they've studied all kinds of different things and then they've gone into entertainment. And, it shouldn't really matter from what sphere or what industry you've come from. It is what is it that you have to give. Exactly. And so, everyone should be given the opportunity to run if that's what they desire. But having said that, I think that you have to also be ready to run because, and especially women, the bar is kind of set a little bit higher for women. And so you have to kind of do over and above what your male counterpart would do. You have to be able to prove that you are competent. Yeah. You have to, you have to show that you have the competence, that you have the intelligence, that you have the wherewithal to do better than your male counterparts. And only then, perhaps, will you be accepted. But I think that we have to understand that it is a bias that is both male and female. So these unconscious biases never leave us. And, when you go into entertainment, it's almost assumed as though, a specific kind of person goes into entertainment, especially if you're a woman, right? And so, we have to disabuse all these
stereotypes.
Yes. And it's actually rubbish thinking because it doesn't really make any sense. But, the more we reorientate the thinking, the more, women, come out and show that, yes, they can actually do this, which obviously they can. I think that, maybe there'll be less of
stigma
around
it.
Absolutely.
And Taylor, I want to come to you. So I want you to talk about two things. So the transferable skills piece, right? Because you've done that. But also this stigma around, maybe you've been a female MD, for example, and you want to run for governor, right? The same set of people who saw you as female MD and supported you and cheered you on start to criticize your ambition to be governor. How does that really work?
Okay. So let me start with the transferable skill, and I'll keep it short because I thought about the question. And I want to use an acronym to describe the skills that I think have helped me on this journey of transition. And a stream, like a stream that flows.
Mm.
So strategic thinking is the first S, which Paud mentioned. It's key, the ability to see what the problem is and then design the solutions to address those problems. Deep-rooted problems. You need to be a strategic thinker. The T, stream, the T, teamwork. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned from corporate Nigeria. The power of collaboration, also business school, because you have to work in teams, as you know, to do your assignments.
Yes.
And you learn how to work with all kinds of people. And I think
Exactly.
that power of collaboration is so important. So teamwork. Then the R, how will I describe the R? Resilience. So you become one that's unstoppable. You don't let go. And you've got to learn how to be resilient. And perhaps even result-oriented. Because you don't want to, you demand results. And I think that's one of the things that I learned, again, working in corporate Nigeria, that I've taken into the public space. Then what's the next one? What's the next? E, the excellence. Raise the standards and demand excellence.
Right.
Then the A, action. Be action-oriented. So again, tied to results. Don't talk, just do, and do it well. And then M is what you mentioned earlier, having the ability to mobilize resources. I think that's one of the skills that you need to be able to not just raise funds, but mobilize human resources, mobilize financial resources, even the utilization of your time and all that. It all comes into play. So
I just want to say, let's give her a round of applause because we're going to copyright stream for the Leading Woman show. Go ahead,
Yes.
Taylor.
And then talking about women and how did you put it again?
Yeah, so the woman MD, right?
Yes,
Remember that analogy?
yes.
And then she decides to run for governor.
Yes. Can I start with a story?
Of course.
Yes. I remember I was actually CEO of a small financial institution. It was when when they started, right? And I remember somebody wanted to interview me and said, as a female CEO, what do you think? And I went, what? What has me being a woman got to do with being a CEO? Would you say as a male CEO, you would just say as CEO, yes. So I think that's even the starting point. Why? She's an MD. Why do we have to tag female to MD? And somebody was sitting beside me and said, why did you, I was actually quite violent in my reaction. So why did you react so violently? I said, I don't like this female thing. By the way, how do you say that? I confess, I had a problem being female growing up. Okay? So that's my first confession. And I found that I understood men more than women. Okay? That's another confession. But what it has helped me to do is learning how to work with everybody. So I think that many of us, including women, actually have mindsets that the culture has tailored to think that men, women, like what I just said. And maybe we should start by saying, are you qualified as a CEO to be CEO? Are you qualified as a governor to be governor? What is your qualification? Let us see it. And that's why I will say anybody moving from one industry to another, I call it transition management. I won't just get up and move to a new industry. I'll do my homework. I will show myself, I will study and show myself, what's the word? Strong, approved. And I will study well. And that's what we're seeing in the School of Politics, Policy and Governance. We had a number of people, significant number, who were in the entertainment world, who were in the corporate world. They've come to the school. They have learned about the rhythmics of politics and governance. And then they ran for office.
Right.
So you can't now say, are you qualified? Because you can see they're talking differently. They're saying things they understand. They're using data. They're using evidence. They are confident. They're competent. You cannot deny that. So I think one of the things that if I was going to change profession and I wanted to be a lawyer, I would go to school. I would not expect Tone to accept me as her legal counterpart, and I haven't done law. So I think it's time for us to demand that politicians should be qualified. Qualify yourself before running for office. I think that's what we need to demand. Whether you're female or male,
Or
it
male.
shouldn't matter.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so Honorable Fuad, I want to come to you now and talk a little bit about women and the role that you see that women can play in politics, especially because, as a man, one of the things that's very clear to us now is that power is in the hands of men. And if men don't, they say power is not served a la carte, but the truth is that men need to become advocates for women to also get into these positions. So for a lot of the women who stay away from politics because they think it's dangerous, as you represent that new face of politics to them, what are some of the things that you believe that they can start to do so that they can run for why can't a woman run for local government? And I know we have a few, but I'm saying those
yes.
people who think that politics is not for them, how can they transition like you did?
Okay, so for me again, I always love to use my experience on the job. And if you see the way Lee Kuan Yew built Singapore, it built on 3 principles. One was meritocracy. The P there was for pragmatism and honesty. We need people that are qualified. I'm not going to say because you're a woman, if you're unqualified for a job, I'm not going to give the job to you. You must be qualified. And if you see most of our policies at the local government level, we do 70-30, 70 for women, 30 for men. So we've increased it. Now we're doing 80% for women, 20%, 80% for women, 20% for men. And my reason is simple. Women are multipliers. If you put things in the hands of women, you know what to do with it. And it has worked for me, and it's still working for me. So if you see my empowerment programs, access to capital for women, it's always about women, women, women. Because I understand that let me use this example. Most women want to leave their marriages. Let me use, and I'll tell you why. And most of them are so scared to leave because they're like, what am I going to feed on? What am I going to support myself with? Because the men have they've said to them, if you leave, there's nothing for you, you're not going to get anything. So what we do at the local government level, you see how we can support women, support their businesses. We give grants of up to about 100,000 to 500,000 to 1 million to see how we can support women, put in their businesses and watch the businesses grow. And it has worked for me at the local government level. And if this is working in my small local government, I just want every other person to just replicate same and see how they can support women. For me, it's been from day one, I've always said, how do we do things differently? How do we support women? Because you find most of these women are, small business owners, and their problems, they keep going back to, the microfinance banks, and those ones come and they just can't, it's not sustainable. So I give out grants to them. If you're qualified, you're able to answer a few questions here and there. We give you grants, because I'm not going to say because I'm a local government chairman, for example, my job is just to fix roads, build hospitals, do clear drilling. No, it goes beyond that. We're saying again that there's a popular radio station, I think a radio station in Lagos. I think they own about 4 radio stations in Lagos. And we did a job fair sometime last month. And I said to them, how can you help me, employ women? I didn't even say men this time around. I said, for the men, we'll come back to you. But for now, I see young, vibrant ladies, rounding off on their National Youth Service program. And I said, how can we help? And they said, what? We're going to help you, because we've seen that you're so passionate about the development of women within your community. And I said to them, if you can do this for me, I'll be very happy with myself. And it's something that's working. I've got a very, very young team, like let me just say a Gen Z-ish kind of team, So they work with me from time to day, and they see how I run the council. Before the immediate past executive secretary of my local government was a woman, and she did well.
Yes.
And up until tomorrow, I still call and seek advice from her. How did you do it? How were you able to, weather the storm in the midst of this madness? And she says to me, Chairman, you have to be solid. You have to stand your ground, this and that, So don't take anything from anybody. And it has worked for me. So for me, if I'm going back to a woman
Yeah.
to seek advice,
Exactly.
it shows that there's something
Women
special that women bring to the
have to
table.
offer.
And to be honest with you, it's something that's working for me.
I love it. So women are multipliers. I took that one. And one of the things I like that you said and you deconstructed for us is oftentimes when we say support women, I guess men are like, what does that look like, right? So I really appreciate you deconstructing
Yes.
that and practically telling us how you're doing it in your little corner. All right, so let's take another short break and we'll be right back. All right, so welcome back. We're still talking about Too Cool for Politics. And now I want to go to the audience. In the first part of this conversation, we got a proprietary acronym for some of the transferable skills that people from other sectors or industries can take into politics. Who can tell us what that is? Who was listening? Okay, we have someone over here.
Okay, she talked about STREAM. Yes, the S stands for strategic thinking. The T stands for teamwork. Then the R resilience. Then E excellence, A action, and M mobilization.
Woo! And Taylor, is that correct? Is that a yes?
Correct.
Fabulous.
Well done. I'm impressed.
Okay, so we have a gift for you. So come find us later. Well done. Great. So before we wrap up this conversation, I want to talk about two things. The first one is, Mrs. CJ, you said your vision is Emily's list. So one of the things I want to ask is, how can we mobilize resources for women to run for office? Because actually, the evidence shows us that this is a major constraint. And so I believe that one of the benefits of having the two coolers become, allies is that they bring first the knowledge to mobilize resources, but they also bring the resources. So how can we do that to start to change things?
I think it is really a matter of galvanizing a community. You start with a community, and with every person, they come with a network, and that network comes with another network. And so I think that's the only way that it can work. But first of all, clearly there has to be, like a set of goals. You have to strategically decide on, how you're going to, what you need and how you're going to get it. And then you start with a small community of people who are adherers, early adopters, passionate, who then talk to, other people and other people. And that's the only way it happens. I mean, when I read about Emily's list, they started with just a small group of people. And today they're 5 million strong. But it's again we still have to reorientate thinking though. And, when I think about what Alera said about, being qualified to run, I'm not so sure that everyone will have the opportunity to go into a school of politics. And so it would be interesting to hear how, or to talk about how we can at Grassroots do things. So, we have young people in the audience. What is it that they can do? It's really, what are you doing around in your own sphere of influence? What can you do? If I think back to, President Obama, before he ran, he was a community organizer. He came from Harvard. Yes, he was a lawyer, but he was a community organizer first of all. And he did that, and then he started doing a whole load of other things. He was educating people around, the country, politics, and I don't mean he was going around the country. He was educating a certain, a certain community, but about, the environment and what was going on in politics, and helping them. And it is only when we begin to help people around us that they then understand that you actually care about them. If you don't care about the people in your constituency, then, they're not going to even think about you in that way. Yes. So as, Fuad had already said, these are the things that he's doing. So to build this community, it is really just to start,
Mm.
and to start with a few people, and then to make sure that we have the right type of people, the people who will educate,
Yeah.
the people who will, bring the resources, whether it's the human resources or the money,
Financial.
the people who will, did I say train already?
No.
The people who will train,
Yeah.
because obviously, yes,
That's
we have to be
important.
trained. And this is the way it starts. And then we start to look for donations and all kinds of things. But the thing is to start.
Fabulous. I hear a few things there. So have a set of standards so that we
Yes.
make sure that we can attract the right people.
Absolutely.
Ensure that we have some of those skill sets around building capacity.
Totally.
Because we don't want resources and then you don't know how to utilize
use
the resources.
Yeah.
Santia Lera, let's come to you. What do you think that we can do to mobilize resources? And then I think as you think about that as well, what do you have to say to the people who would say they are still sitting on the fence around politics, especially ahead of the next general elections?
Let me start with the end, what you just ended with, and I'll tell you why. I actually think that there's a shift that is taking place. I believe today we are seeing a new generation of citizens awakening, arising, and they're taking action. And we mustn't ignore that which we are seeing, because a sound was released, and that sound was the office of the citizen.
Mm.
And the power of sound is that you hear something. It's like, I'm sure the young people know. You remember Thriller, Michael Jackson? I love that video because it speaks to what I'm going to say.
Mm.
And Thriller, the music was playing, and what happened? All the dead people started rising. And as they rose, they moved towards the what? The sound of the music. That's what's happening. Some people began to trumpet a new sound. Office of the citizen, office of the citizen. Take responsibility. Do not negate, do not relegate your or delegate your responsibility to others. Take ownership. And people started listening. In different languages, they started listening. So regardless of whether you are illiterate or illiterate, you started paying attention. That office of the citizen is a new sound that is going across the entire nation. And I believe therein lies the key to what is going to bring, perhaps not in 2023, but by 2027. Okay. So to mobilize resources, you're now going to find that more people are going to pay attention and realize that their odd 5,000 can make a difference. And that's what Obama did. He didn't come with huge resources, but he unlocked wealth, the little sums of money. And my daughter has done a GoFundMe before. I was shocked at the amount of money that my daughter was able to raise to cover. She had a spinal cord injury. So she did that GoFundMe. And when I said I was surprised, but people that we had no idea. But what she did was that she did a powerful video, even if I may say so myself, that told her story, that captivated people's interest, and it released resources. So where am I going? Release your sound. Make sure that it's a great sound. Captivate your audience. Show yourself competent, that you can actually, like him, make a difference. And then when you ask, your ask will be honored. And I think that will begin to unlock resources.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Honorable Fuad, as we wrap up, what would you say to people who are still sitting on the sidelines ahead of the next general elections? What can people who, one of the things is the day of election is not the day for barbecue. It's not barbecue day. Or public holiday or day to go for a swim or something, right? So a lot of the people, Honorable Fuad, that are around you who think this is what this day is dedicated to, what do you have to say to them?
In our local parlance, I would just, if you're still sitting down, you're in a long thing. let's start from there. So, this is 2023. You want to win an election, a general election, and you're coming in 2022 to say you want to win a general election. I don't know how this is going to happen. And I'll tell you again, the true change starts from the local government. They talk about structures, they talk about local government system, the councillors within the wards. These are structures. My local government have got about 5 wards, each councillor, 5 councillors. They have followers, they have supporters, they have everything, and they're members of my party. So it's going to take what for you to even defeat me within my own local government? Because it's not possible. I'm not trying to, because we've done work and we continue to do work for the people of the community. So we're saying again that if you want to see change, it starts from the local government level. Come and be part of that change at this level. Join a political party. Join something. Start from somewhere. You know, I don't know how people think or how people reason. I knew there was a problem. I joined the Action Congress of Nigeria. At the time, I was waiting. It became the APC in 2015. In 2017, I knew it was my time by the special grace of God, and I got it. So I didn't just wait. Obama didn't just say, next year I'm going to be the president of America.
Start from somewhere.
You start from somewhere.
With what you
start
have.
with what you have. You start from the grassroots. You understand? You get involved. The community service, giving back to your community, understanding the needs of your people. They see you as their Messiah. And to be honest with you, gone are the days where you deceive people. If you're not working, they'll call you out.
Yes.
And you have to. You must always give back to the people because they put you there in the first place.
Yeah.
And local government elections, a state that has about 20 million residents or 22 million residents, when it was time for local government elections, we only got about, total number of votes cast, it was about 8,800 votes. And I won with 8,000 votes. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying to you again, people were just at home. For them, they saw it as a public holiday. And you're saying you want to see real change. The real change starts from you getting involved in the process.
From us.
You understand?
Absolutely.
So change begins with you.
Yes.
So start from the local government. No, I'm sure most of you don't even know your councillors. Hello?
Assignments.
You don't know your
Start taking
councillors. Like
assignments.
if I say to you, like, what local government are you from now? It's, you don't even know their councillors. You wouldn't blame them because that is where real change starts from, the local government. And, you know, we'll get there. So if we want to see real change in 2027, it starts from now, from today.
It starts from now. So I really want to round this up by taking a lot of the things that we've said here today. And, you know, because I was hearing so many things that as women, we don't do, right? I heard a lot of the things that women don't do that I think we can start to do. I think one of the things that has come out here strongly is if people don't know what you can do, then they just don't know what you can do. So you might be very competent and you were a competent CEO, not necessarily a female CEO. But, you know, if people just don't know, then they will judge you if you come up. And that's where it's like, where are you coming from? And say you want to lead them at the level of governor, for example. So that's one. I think the other thing is, you know, that ability to humble yourself, to understand that this is a different terrain and I might need a new set of skills and also knowledge, right? Because with that knowledge, you can actually unlock the support, the resources, the capital that then enables you release the sound and then captivate that audience and really start to potentially change things. I see, you know, that that's not something that women do in that regard. So women do not do these things deliberately, but we actually want to make a difference. And I think that, you know, the more of this knowledge that we share and the more people who hopefully see all of us who have been on this panel as examples of people who should be involved, who are involved and who are making a difference in politics, the better for us. Thank you all once again for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Next week, we will be looking at the dirty game of politics. Can women play it? And I'll be joined by some amazing guests, so make sure you keep a date with us. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to shout out to a leading woman you know and tag us so we can celebrate her too. Until next time, remember that women's leadership can change everything, everywhere. My name is Abosede Jojogan. Bye for now.